This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Stick around to the end of the video to hear more.
Alright, time for another Tears of the Kingdom video from a YouTuber who has nothing to do with gaming. So I played the game, I liked it was pretty good, could have been better, but hey ho, that's the way, not every game can be Fireboy and Water Girl 6 fairy tales. More importantly, this game has a couple language details I found kind of interesting, so here they are. So the language of Hyrule is Hyrulean, simple as, everyone speaks it, the Zora, Rito, Gorons, Hylians, and so on. This language is, I guess, best defined as whatever language the player is playing the game in. For example, one of the biggest side adventures in Tears of the Kingdom revolves around this archaeologist Wordsworth and his quest to find all these tablets written by a chamberlain in an ancient age. These are written in Ancient Hyrulean, and in the English version of the game, this is represented by the use of a sort of Middle English. I asked around, and it seems that in the Japanese version, similarly old-fashioned and outdated language is used, being typical of the writing of the Heian period, which ran from about 800 to 1200 in the Common Era. This suggests that Hyrulean has basically not changed for the last 20,000 years, or however long it's supposed to be since the Age of the Zonai, since, you know, the forms of Japanese and English used in-game are actually only about 1,000 years old and fairly mutually intelligible with the modern language. Now, language change is not a consistent phenomenon, and predicting it is no precise science. But just for some simple fun, it kind of seems like language changes 20 times slower in Hyrule than in the real world. Although, since a minute in the real world is an hour in-game, I mean, time kind of moves 60 times faster, so maybe this disparity isn't so strange after all. Meanwhile, the ancient civilization, the Zonai, used a different language, but presumably Minoru and Rauru spoke ancient Hyrulean since they were, spoilers, the last of the Zonai. This obviously raises the question of when, spoilers, Zelda goes back in time, how does she communicate with the people of that age? Judging by the existence of scholars such as Wordsworth in the present, and the fact that Zelda herself is characterized as, in short, a nerd, it's not impossible that she would herself have been able to speak ancient Hyrulean well enough to get by in the past. Then, spoilers, she could teach modern Hyrulean to Minoru for when she guides Link in the future. The only problem with this is that Zelda and Sonia and Rauru can all communicate with one another without issue before Zelda even realizes she's been transported to the past, so I don't really know what's going on there. Then there's the dialects. Lurelin Village on the southern coast is said to have its own dialect, with characters like Toro using Lurelin expressions, which are just fish puns. Because it's a fishing village, so they make fish puns. And no joke, I think that's brilliant. I love this detail in the game. The other big dialectical difference would be among the Gorons, the rock-eating people living on Death Mountain, or at least Yunobo, one of the Gorons. I mean, by dialectical difference, I mean they use the word Goro, or at least Yunobo does. What does Goro mean? In the English audio, Yunobo's tone of voice suggests that Goro just means like bro or dude or something. This is probably, I wouldn't say a mistranslation, just a difficult thing to translate from Japanese. It comes from the Japanese onomatopoeia goro goro, used for rolling, rumbling, or thundering, and is perhaps meant in the original Japanese as just a kind of meaningless sentence ender, which is very typical of especially animated characters in Japanese media. Compare Kirby's classic. I quite like both ideas of the word Goro, but I've gotta say I prefer the Japanese, and was kind of confused every time Yunobo's English voice actor said Goro, like it was a whole meaningful word at the end of every sentence. Either way, the fact that Goro is used by different translations of the game means the only thing we can reasonably assume about the entire modern Hyrulean language is that some people add Goro to the end of their sentences. And that might just be a verbal tick, so. Except, remember when I said earlier that Hyrulean is just whatever language the player is playing the game in? Well, there is some evidence against that. We haven't talked yet about Gerudo. In the southwest of the map, there is a region called Gerudo, containing the Gerudo Desert and Gerudo Town, populated by the all-female Gerudo people, and they have their own language, called Gerudo. The daughter of Hudson and Ronson, Mattison, who has lived her life thus far in Tarrytown, has to learn this language before going off to grow up in Gerudo. seems to be distinct from Hyrulean. All we get to learn from it is various phrases, like savotta for good morning, or vo and vai for man and woman. All the Gerudo we see in the game seem proficient in Hyrulean as well, since they'll freely communicate with Link, which makes sense since they're basically a client state of Hyrule, but they throw Gerudo phrases into their Hyrulean, suggesting that when they speak it, they have their own dialect, maybe want to preserve their distinct identity when communicating in the majority language of Hyrule. Now, this can tell us something about Hyrulean. Take this line of dialogue, where a Gerudo called Riza introduces Link to the word vo, and he responds, "Sorry, Bo?" Riza then chastises him for not pronouncing the word correctly, telling him to bite his lower lip as he says it. This means that canonically, Hyrulean, just like Japanese, does not have a V sound, but does have a B sound, which is why it's hard for Hyrulean speakers like Link to pronounce the many V sounds in Gerudo. Thank you for watching this several minute long video to come to the conclusion that we know one phoneme of Hyrulean phonology. And thank you to this video's sponsor, Squarespace.
Squarespace is an easy-to-use website builder with flexible templates and a next-generation website design system Fluid Engine, which allow you to customize and create a website based on your individual needs, while still looking professional and stylish. Use blogging tools to share photos, videos, and updates on your website, while inbuilt analytics let you use insights into your site traffic and top keywords to improve your marketing strategies and grow your business. And if all that isn't enough, there's a range of vetted, third-party tools you can use through Squarespace extensions. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/cakelein to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you in the next one.